Spine in rheumatoid arthritis. In 1890, Gerard reported that 36% of his patients with rheumatoid arthritis had a cervical spine involvement. It may affect any synovial joint in the vertebral column, most commonly seen in the cervical spine. Rarely it affects thoracolumbar spine. You may see changes from the occiput to cervicothoracic junction. More specifically, the synovial and cartilaginous articulations, the joints of the lusca, tendinous and ligamentous attachments, and soft tissues of the cervical spine can develop significant abnormalities in rheumatoid arthritis. Types of cervical spine involvement in the decreasing order of frequency. Anterior atlantoaxial subluxation is most common. Atlantoaxial subluxation combined with a subaxial subluxation. Isolated subaxial subluxation. Superior migration of the odontoid. Symptoms of atlantoaxial involvement: localized mechanical pain secondary to inflammation and arthritis changes, the most common complaint. Flexion extension exacerbate the pain and symptoms. Neurological dysfunction may be present in the form of compression of the brainstem, spinal cord, or nerve roots. Patient will have paresthesia, numbness of the upper and lower extremities, occasionally describing as an electric shock sensation that transforms his entire body. If you take an X-ray in the early course, it will be non-specific. Sometimes you will see a soft tissue swelling or mild periarticular osteopenia. But regular cervical spine X-ray is must in symptomatic cases of a rheumatoid arthritis. The mainstay of imaging of the rheumatoid spine remains the plain radiography. Flexion extension views are necessary to assess the level of involvement and any evidence of instability. The need for further imaging by means of a CT or MRI or myelography may also be assessed during radiography. Anterior atlantoaxial instability is evidenced by atlantodental distance of more than 3 mm on either lateral, static, or a flexion extension view. Atlantodental distance is measured from the posterior margin of the anterior ring of C1 to the anterior surface of the dens. Plain lateral radiograph of the normal cervical spine taken in extension shows measurement of the anterior atlantodental interval and posterior atlantodental interval. Lateral flexion view of the cervical spine shows atlantoaxial subluxation. Posterior atlantodental interval. The recent literature suggests that posterior atlantodental interval is a better method of assessing AAS because PADI directly measures the spinal canal and therefore shows how much is narrowed by subluxation. PADI is the distance between the posterior surface of the odontoid and the anterior margin of the posterior ring of the atlas. At all cervical spinal levels, the cord requires minimum canal width of 10 mm. The CSF 2 mm and the dura 2 mm. Therefore, a minimum PADI of 14 mm is required to avoid cord compression. The normal spinal canal measures 17 to 29 mm at C1 gen. Vertical migration of the odontoid evaluated by Chamberlain's line, a line from hard palate to the inner aspect of the posterior rim of the foramen magnum. Odontoid should not project more than 3 mm above this line. If more than 6 mm, it is considered pathological. McGregor's line, a line drawn from the posterior margin of the hard palate to the most caudal point of occiput. The tip of the odontoid should not project more than 4.5 mm above. Lateral subluxation is seen in 20% of the rheumatoid patients, found more in patients with a cord compression. Open mouth view shows the overhang of the lateral mass have C1 or C2 more than 2 mm on anterior posterior view. Posterior subluxation rare, associated with either a fracture or erosion of the odontoid, may cause myelopathy at cervicomedullary junction. Subaxial subluxation more subtle, located at multiple levels, producing a step ladder type of deformity. CT and MRI are required for pre-operative assessment of the two main indications for surgical intervention, that is, namely neurological deficit and severe pain. Although CT scanning can document bone damage and alignment abnormalities, especially with more detailed multiplanar reconstruction, MRI has become the preferred modality for evaluation of the spinal cord and neural elements. Major indications for MRI in rheumatoid arthritis are abnormal measurements and plain radiographs, unremitting suboccipital or cervical pain, progressive or severe subluxations, symptoms of cord or brainstem compression, and vertebral artery compression symptoms. Thoracic and lumbar spine involvement in rheumatoid arthritis is rare. Changes in the upper thoracic spine are similar to destructive type of subaxial subluxation. Upper thoracic subluxation may be because of increased motion as a compensation for decreased mobility in cervical spine. Pathogenesis of rheumatoid spondylitis in the thoracic and lumbar spines is believed due to facet joint synovitis that leads to instability. Inward costovertebral joints can spread their involvement to disc space, causing discitis between the disc and vertebral end plates. Rheumatoid granulation tissue can cause compression of the thoracic spinal cord. Rheumatoid involvement of the lumbar spine rarely recognized as a cause of nerve root or cauda equina compression. Intraspinal rheumatoid granulomatous nodules can lead to nerve root compression, causing back and leg pain. Patients with RA who are receiving corticosteroid medication are predisposed to ischemic necrosis of the bone. Although the femoral head is the usual site for this, vertebral bodies in the thoracic and lumbar regions of the spine can be affected. On a radiograph is seen as a vertebral collapse and fragmentation. Radiolucent fracture lines which may accumulate gas from the surrounding tissues are an important clue to the diagnosis. Coming to the treatment, non-operative and operative. Non-operative treatment goals of treatment are preventing neurological injury, avoiding sudden death, minimizing pain, and maximizing function. Coordination with the rheumatologist is important. You have to control the inflammation and further damage because of the inflammatory reaction. Cervical arthrosis is must, and you have to do the neck exercise after assessing the stability, and regular follow-up x-rays are required. C1 C2 stabilization done in atlantoaxial instability secondary to non-union of a moodontoid fracture. Occipito-cervical fusion is done when vertical subluxation of the dens is present with or without concurrent atlantoaxial subluxation, or when atlantoaxial fusion is not adequate or necessary to extend the fusion to include occiput. Post-operative external arthrosis. Halo West immobilization for a minimum of 12 weeks followed by 4 to 8 weeks additional time if flexion extension view don't show stable fusion. You have to immobilize the Minerva jacket or Philadelphia collar or Somi brace. Conclusion: rheumatoid arthritis involves spine, most commonly cervical spine. Suspicion and diagnosis is very important. If neglected, it will lead to catastrophic complications, and operative intervention is usually limited to C1, C2 area, and complication must be avoided as there are no active management for them.